point here that they're not generating power all the time. There are plenty of times where there's no wind, and there are plenty of times when it's cloudy and there's no electricity being generated. So now you need standby power.
Picking up from net zero, I was talking to one of the engineers who's a scientist, and my question was, do you think net zero is a mathematical fallacy, or is that an equation to be achieved? And he said that we can achieve net zero on a day, and then you have to work around. It's just you can't have permanent net zero because it's a zero-sum game. You have to add and remove and keep on playing with it because things are so much evolving and so much dynamic. So you can't have permanency of net zero. You can achieve net zero from a mathematical equation point of view for a day, and you don't see the whole cost of the value chain. For example, the windmills, nobody thinks about what it took to make a windmill. So the whole timeline, same as solar panels, same as any other power plants. So people don't see the whole value chain; they see part of the equation or the whole equation. So if you consider the whole equation, that's a bigger challenge.
And this is, people think that net zero comes free, that we can have the photovoltaics and they're free. My understanding is that depending on the size of the wind tower, the windmill you're putting up, and where it is, you're going to need somewhere between about 1,200 and 2,000 tonnes of concrete and steel underneath that tower to stop the thing from blowing over. Concrete is one of the most energy-intensive products on this earth, making of cement. So you need to put into the equation the actual cost of building the photovoltaic cells or the windmills. You also need to factor in the point here that they're not generating power all the time. There are plenty of times where there's no wind, and there are plenty of times when it's cloudy and there's no electricity being generated. So now you need standby power. And of all the forms of standby power, the most instantaneous is gas. And my understanding is that if you work through a scale of the actual the cost of generating power, brown coal is by far and away the cheapest, the absolute cheapest form of generating electricity, followed by black coal. Then you go up through the ladder. But when you get to gas, it's one of the most expensive ways of generating power. So if you go through a period of maybe a week, 10 days, where there's not much wind and not much sun, and you've got to turn the gas burners on, you have to have the cost of that capacity to generate power sitting idle the whole time that photovoltaics and windmills are actually generating enough power. But it has to be there, so when you need it, you can switch it on. So now you've got two parallel capital costs here. The capital cost of the green, friendly, non-polluting generation of power, and the other one, but you still have the capital cost of it being there. And most of all, we are going to need more transmission lines. But if a power station remains where it currently is, and this means keeping coal burning, you don't have all the cost of the transmission lines. And this is in Victoria right now, where farmers are kicking up like steam because they don't want these bloody power lines all over their property. But when it comes down to the nuclear aspect here, people say that this is vastly expensive. Well, it might be, but people are building nuclear power stations all over the world. And the German economy is running on electricity, or not completely, but largely. German economy is running on electricity generated nuclear out of France. The French have not been backward, for that quaint little country that it is. They've not been backward about putting in place the nuclear generating capacity that they need. Now, I'm not a nuclear scientist, and I don't quite understand this, but I've been on an American nuclear submarine. If that's not modular nuclear power, I don't know what the hell is, because there are nuclear submarines travelling all over the world, American and Russian and British, with modular nuclear power stations inside them. And my only understanding here is that for cooling, they have the ocean available to them all the time, so perhaps it's a cooling issue, I don't know. But it seems to me that if people are hooked on non-polluting energy, they need to discuss nuclear. Australia has huge amounts of uranium, huge amounts of gas, huge amounts of coal. We could be generating the cheapest power in the world or the cleanest power in the world. It's at our doorstep. And yet we sit back holier than thou, refusing to allow us to move in that direction.